Today, we're gonna make, well, let me back up. So I have some dietary restrictions that keep me from being able to eat certain foods. And specifically, in relation to what we're cooking today, it's potatoes. One of the things I miss, having cut that out of my diet, is shepherd's pie. And we have lamb, which is the classic meat for shepherd's pie. So it's occurred to me that parsnips can make an excellent replacement for potatoes. So today, what we're going to do is give it a shot and see whether we can make a shepherd's pie variation that uses parsnip in place of the mashed potatoes. All right, so what we've got here is we've got 3 parsnips, local parsnips. I'm going to use those as the mashed potatoes. In place of corn, which I also can't have, we're going to do sort of a mix of green beans and carrots. Of course, gotta have an onion. You may not like onion, but onion is the key to flavor in almost every dish I make. It's really important. It doesn't have to be very big. Vary your onion size based on your preference for onions. And of course, we have lamb. This is in our own cryovac packages because it's our lamb. We actually had it processed on farm. If you buy lamb from us, you would be more likely to see it in a bag from our local butcher. So anyway, what I'm going to do is take a moment. I'm going to peel the carrots and the parsnips, and then I'm going to dice them up, and I'll show you how I dice them up in just a second. So peeling the parsnips, obviously, I'm going to, we save all of the scraps like this, the various skins and whatnot, as long as they're not moldy, for either the sheep or the pigs, which is what that container right there is. I prefer to give them to the pigs. Jen likes to give them to the sheep. I like to give them to the pigs because pigs make bacon. Bacon. I like bacon. And that's the parsnips. There, carrots. This might be I have this feeling that this is just a little, there should be at least one more parsnip, so I would recommend 4 large parsnips. I just have this feeling that that might be kind of a small amount of mashed parsnips, but this is just an idea, and you get to see the test. I think it should be pretty good. Over the holidays, I made a breakfast hash with brisket and used parsnips as the replacement for the potatoes, which is what gave me the idea to do this because it was exceptionally good. Actually, I thought parsnips were better than potatoes. All right, so I've put some water on into this saucepan here. This is where the parsnips are going to go. I'm going to boil them. I prefer to steam vegetables, generally speaking, but when you're mashing something, boiling is just the way to go. It helps them break down better, I think. Salted the water a little bit. It's always good to salt your water. Some people say you should make it taste like the sea. Depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I do that as well. But this will be boiling while I show us how to cut up the parsnips. Oh, got my chef's knife here. This is my favorite knife. My brother gave this to me years ago. One thing that's really important, sharp knives. It is so vital to have sharp knives in the kitchen. If you need to have them professionally done, I know there are people who do them. My father was kind enough to give me a knife sharpener for a birthday or for Christmas a year or 2 ago. Been real handy, but I'm a big fan. So this knife is pretty sharp. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to chunk up these parsnips, really just small enough to get them to boil up quickly, and then I will mash them. So I'm going to basically chop them into small pieces, just because they'll break down faster. You could do large pieces probably, but I'm hungry and I would like to eat soon, so smaller pieces will ensure that these are cooked more quickly. When you're cutting, tuck your fingers like this. It helps keep you from cutting your fingers. But worst cuts I've gotten when I've been in the kitchen have always been when I've been not paying attention to where I'm putting my fingers and how I'm holding the knife. treats for the pigs. Pigs make bacon. So I'm getting the carrots ready. These are going to get steamed along with the beans. I'm going to do them at the same time. And I think depending on your preference, you could chop them however small you want. I'm thinking of this from the perspective of this is a corn replacement, so I think I'm going to have them be not too big, just so they're a little more like the real thing. They could be chunks. Just as long as they're cooked through once they're steamed, it really doesn't matter, I don't think. It's just your sort of aesthetic preference. Alright, so we're prepping the beans. I'm lazy and don't like to pick through these things individually. That annoys me, so I tend to try to do them in bulk. One thing I didn't mention is that you should wash all of your vegetables before you cook, just because you never know what's on them, even though these are, I think, the carrots and the parsnips I know are local. I do not believe these beans are, so because they are definitely out of season. So I'm just putting the meat into a food-safe metal bowl, and I'm gonna season it up in there. It's possible this is more meat than we need. I think probably a little bit more, but I don't know. And so what we'll do is I'll cook it all up, and if we feel like it doesn't all fit in there, then we'll just have some leftover cooked ground lamb, which is always a yummy thing. And just mixing it up. This is mostly just because what we've got here is actually two different ages of lamb, so I'll combine it well enough so that it's sort of evenly spread out. So we're adding the lamb here. I added a couple tablespoons of garlic. I cut a couple cloves of garlic up and added them to the onion after the onion had cooked. So that way it still remains kind of garlicky and it doesn't cook all the flavor out of it. Garlic plays very nice with lamb, so I figure adding the two is a good idea. When you're cooking things in a pan, it's always best to try not to crowd too much and not put too much in. I'll probably do this in 2 batches, just for that reason. But the first batch went in with I put in with the onions, which is fine. And I'll basically cook this until it starts to brown. And I'll pull it out, and I'll put the others in. And this will be the meat for a shepherd's pie. Out the lamb, so it's almost all browned, and the carrots and beans are steaming right here. Now I took the mashed potatoes, I took the ersatz mashed potatoes, the parsnips, and I pureed them up using an immersion blender, which is frankly one of the best tools that I've purchased for my kitchen. Highly recommend a good immersion blender. They do wonders. The one thing I'm noticing though is that parsnips are really sweet, particularly this particular batch of parsnips we got, and so I put some feta in because lamb and feta plays nice. It helped a little, but I've also put some salt in and a little bit of liquid aminos, which are pretty salty. You just have to be careful because they have a bit of a soy sauce flavor, and you don't want it to suddenly go from being a lamb dish to being something more Asian, which doesn't really jive. So anyway, we are well on our way to being able to assemble this. We'll go put it in the oven at 350 for, I don't know, 25 minutes, half an hour, and then we'll eat. All right, so we've got our 3 ingredients: the mixed vegetables, the ground meat, and our mashed parsnips. Jen is insisting that I put the carrots and the beans on the bottom. She seems to think that they'll taste better with all the juices on them. I'm a little skeptical, but I'll try it. I did only cook these partially. You would typically cook them to soft enough to really squish. These break down a little bit, but they're still a little hard, and that's because they're going to keep cooking in the pan when they're in the oven. And you don't want to wind up with mush at the end. So then I'm going to spoon on as much of this lamb as I think I can get into the pan, while as much lamb as I think I can get into the pan and still allow room for the mashed parsnips on top, which I think is actually going to be most of it. Save a little of it. One of us will have it for lunch, or the ground for lunch or breakfast. Lamb is really good in eggs, particularly if you have some sun-dried tomatoes or something interesting to put in with it, and olives and things like that. So I had Jen pause this because I was looking at the pan as I was shoveling this out, and I realized that there's all this brown goodness in here. And I thought, well, that needs to be captured and put into this dish. So a little bit of water, maybe 1/4 of a cup, maybe not even that, 1/8 of a cup, in the bottom of the pan, and just deglaze the pan, and then you're left with all of this really good brown, tasty goodness. That's a lot of flavor right in there. All of that browning makes for some darn fine flavor. So this will go add really nice. It'll help keep things steaming a little bit. Now I'm going to take these mashed parsnips, spoon them on top. So as I said, what I did with the parsnips was added some feta, which helped, some salt, and a little bit of liquid aminos. I'm not convinced the liquid aminos helped that much, but again, experimental cooking, that's what we do. But they mashed very nicely, so they definitely work in terms of the substitute. It's just a matter of making sure you get the flavors right. And I also added a little cream because, let's be honest, mashed potatoes are better with cream. Mashed parsnips are no different. So, that there, just a little bit of pepper on the top to give it a little decorative look. I'm going to grab one other thing. This is this rub I was talking about earlier from Dizzy Pig. This is called Mediterranean-ish, right here. This is a great rub. Dizzy Pig makes wonderful stuff, and one of the reasons I really like them is because they are one of the only barbecue companies that I get rubs from still that makes them without sugar. There are several, the Ish series that they do are all sugar-free, and for people like me who can't eat sugar, these are an excellent alternatives, and it's all really good ingredients. So, and they did not pay me to say that, of course. So I'm going to put a little on top. This will add some color and some flavor. And this is very, you know, like I said, it's clearly Mediterranean style, and it's got some interesting stuff in it. In addition to garlic and spices and onions, it has some dehydrated lemon peel. That's for an excellent flavor. So, gonna put this in at 350, and it'll be delicious. We're done, hot out of the oven. It's nice and brown on top. Very pleased with that, looks good. And now we're gonna take a scoop. Some good liquid on the bottom. It's definitely gonna be moist. And this should be good. We're looking forward to it. So thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate you joining us as we go on our journey of food, family, and farm. If you're interested in having us do other videos on specific topics, please go over to howlingwolffarm.com and let us know what you're interested in. Thanks a lot.